mess with me is that Blueface doesn't seem active in a child's life because of his disability. Hold on. So I said my son does not have a disability. He is developing at his own pace and hitting his milestones in his own timing. Every child is different.
I worship you, Father. I worship you.
Get your hands on them, Didi. That is above every name.
The moment the pastor stepped up to the mic, the room didn't feel normal anymore. It wasn't just another Sunday message. Something in his tone said this was different, slower, heavier, like he'd been holding something in for a long time and finally decided. Today was the day. He paused, looked out at the crowd, and then said it carefully, but clear enough that nobody could pretend they didn't hear it. This situation. It's not getting better. You could feel the shift instantly. People leaned in. Phones came out. Whispers started building in the back rows because everyone already knew who he was talking about, Chrisean, her son. And everything that's been going on behind the scenes, the pastor didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The weight of his words did all the work. He spoke about concern, about patterns, about choices that weren't helping a child who needed stability more than anything, and then he dropped the line that really shook the room. He ain't improving. Silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that makes your chest feel tight. Because now this wasn't just internet drama anymore. This was real life, real consequences. And suddenly, everyone was wondering the same thing. What actually happened behind closed doors? The silence didn't break right away. It just sat there, heavy, stretching longer than anyone expected. The pastor stepped back for a second, letting those words sink in. You could see it on people's faces: confusion, concern, even disbelief. Because up until now, everything people thought they knew came from clips, rumors, and social media noise. But this felt different. This felt like someone close to the situation was finally speaking without filters. He leaned forward again, gripping the sides of the podium, his voice still calm, but now there was something deeper in it. Not anger, not judgment. Concern. Real concern. I've been watching, he continued, choosing every word carefully. Not from a distance, but up close enough to see the patterns. And what I'm seeing, it's not progress. A few people shifted in their seats. Others nodded slowly, like they already feared where this was going. Because when someone says patterns, that means it's not just one moment, not just one mistake. It means something is repeating, over and over, again. And that's when the pastor started speaking. Less like a speaker and more like someone trying to make people understand something serious. He talked about the environment, about how a child doesn't just grow on their own, they absorb everything around them. The energy, the chaos, the instability. Children don't just listen to what you say, he said. They become what they live in. That line hit different, because now people weren't just thinking about headlines or viral clips anymore. They were picturing a child in the middle of all that noise, and suddenly, the story felt heavier than gossip. The pastor paused again, scanning the room, almost like he was deciding how much more to reveal. Then he continued, there are moments that should be about growth, but instead, they're becoming distractions. Now the whispers started again, quieter this time, more uneasy. Because nobody needed him to explain exactly what he meant. People were already connecting the dots in their own heads. Social media moments, public outbursts, situations that go viral for the wrong reasons. All of it, and the pastor didn't deny any of it. He just framed it differently, not as entertainment, but as an impact. Every time something becomes a spectacle, he said, there's a cost, and the one who pays it the most is the one with no control over it. That line landed hard. Because now, the focus wasn't on Chrisean anymore. It was on her son, the one person who didn't choose any of this. The room went completely still again. You could almost feel people rethinking everything they had laughed at, shared, or scrolled past, as if it were just another trending moment. But the pastor wasn't done, not even close. He straightened up slightly, his voice gaining just a bit more firmness, not loud, but clear in a way that demanded attention. "This isn't about tearing someone down," he said. "It's about recognizing when something isn't working." That distinction mattered because it shifted the tone from blame to responsibility. And for a second, it felt like the entire room was holding its breath. Waiting. Because everyone knew what question was coming next, even if nobody wanted to say it out loud. If things aren't improving, then what happens next? The pastor let that question hang without answering it immediately. Instead, he told a short story about a young child he once knew who struggled not because they lacked love, but because their environment was inconsistent. "One day everything was calm," he said. "The next day, everything was chaos." He paused, "And children don't understand inconsistency. They just feel it." That part hit deeper than anything else, because it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was real. And real is what made it uncomfortable. You could see people looking down, thinking not about someone else's situation anymore, but about what that kind of instability actually does over time. Then he brought it back to the situation everyone came in curious about. "I've seen moments where things could have gone in a better direction," he said. "But then something pulls it right back." That word "pulls" stuck out. Like something stronger than intention was keeping the cycle going. And now the room wasn't just listening, they were trying to understand. Was it the people around her, the lifestyle, the pressure, the attention, or something deeper? The pastor didn't give a direct answer, but he didn't need to, because sometimes what you don't say says more. He stepped back again, exhaling slowly, like even he felt the weight of what he was sharing. And then, in a quieter voice, he added, "A child's progress should never be delayed by an adult's choices." That line didn't just land, it stayed. No reactions, no whispers this time. Just silence, the kind that makes everything feel heavier. And that's when you could tell this wasn't just another moment people would forget after leaving the room. This was something that would follow them, because now the conversation had changed. It wasn't about drama. It wasn't about sides. It wasn't even about who was right or wrong. It was about impact. And the question nobody could ignore anymore: if nothing changes, what does that mean for him? The pastor didn't answer that. He just stepped away from the mic, and somehow that silence said more than anything else he could have added. The pastor didn't come back to the mic right away. For a moment, he just stood there, letting everything settle, because by now there was nothing left to hype, nothing left to dramatize. The message had already landed exactly where it needed to, and the room felt it. Heavy, quiet, uncomfortable in a way that made people think instead of react. When he finally stepped forward again, his voice was softer than before, but somehow it carried even more weight. "I didn't say this to embarrass anyone," he said, "and I didn't say it to create sides." He paused, looking across the room. "I said it because sometimes silence does more damage than truth." That line shifted everything one last time. Because now this wasn't just about what was happening, it was about why it was being said out loud. Not for attention. Not for headlines, but because ignoring it wasn't helping. He rested his hands on the podium again, slower this time, like he was choosing his final words carefully. "There's still time," he continued. "Time to change direction. Time to create something stable. Time to make choices that actually support growth." That word "time" felt important because it meant this wasn't over. Not yet, but it also carried pressure. Because time doesn't wait forever. The pastor looked down briefly, then back up. But time only matters if something changes. And there it was, the line that didn't need to be loud to hit hard. Because now Everything came down to that one idea. Change. Not promises, not explanations, not moments that look good on camera. Real change. The kind that shows up consistently, even when nobody's watching. A murmur moved through the room again, but it wasn't confusion this time. It was understanding. People weren't questioning what he meant anymore. They got it. The pastor took a small step back, his tone softening even more. A child doesn't need perfection, he said, but they do need stability. Double quote, simple. Clear. Unavoidable. And maybe the most important thing he said all day. Because it stripped everything else away. No drama, no noise, no distractions. Just the truth. He exhaled slowly, as he'd finally said everything he needed to say, and then, almost as an afterthought but one that lingered the longest, he added, "What happens next is what really matters. No build-up. No explanation. Just a statement. And somehow that made it heavier than anything else. Because now the story wasn't about what had already happened. It was about what comes next. The choices, the environment, the direction, all of it is still unwritten. The pastor stepped away from the mic for the final time. No music. No applause. Just silence. But this time, it didn't feel empty. It felt unresolved, like everyone in that room understood they had just witnessed something realer, and now the outcome wasn't in the pastor's hands anymore. It was in hers. And the question that stayed with everyone as they slowly began to leave wasn't about the past. It was about the future, and whether anything would actually change.